No, 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 no. Seriously? I have to wake up to this? What is up guys, it's Swolem here, back with another Wrath of the Lich King Classic video. So we have a huge blue post, we have some huge news for Wrath Classic. Blizzard has shared some opinions on some different stuff that we have to talk about. This is actually pretty huge, and they've changed their minds quite drastically. Before we check out the blue post itself though, I do want to mention that you can still get my Wrath of the Lich King Classic gold guide for 50% off by using the code SWOLHEIM. This is a gold guide that I've spent countless hours on and putting all of my gold making information into the guide, and by purchasing the guide once you will also get all of the future updates for free, and I will continue to update this guide throughout Wrath Classic. Right now, if you purchase the guide, you will also get access to an exclusive gold making Discord for Wrath Classic. It is also a 93 pages long document going over gold farms, investments, crafting professions, gathering professions, and choosing a class for gold farming, and also auction house strategies. It's basically everything you want and need to know about gold making in Wrath Classic. So if you're looking to make gold in Wrath, then check out that guide through the link down below. Now let's check out the blue post. Okay, so Blizzard has just released a blue post offering some developer insight on common community feedback, covering topics regarding raid lockouts, race and faction change, achievements, LFG tools, and arena titles. Additionally, Blizzard also confirmed that they have no plans to ever add the random dungeon finder. So, hey everyone, now that we have announced that Wrath of the Lich King Classic will release on September 26th, I want to give you an update on some of the items that we have been collecting feedback on since our beta has begun. So, raid lockout. We have decided that lockouts should be shared between heroic and normal versions of the raid, but not between 10 and 25 player versions of the raid. So you'll be able to do both the 10 player and 25 player version of each raid every single lockout period, but you will have to choose between normal and heroic for the raids that offer that choice. So they talked about this when I think they talked about this when they actually gave us the beta and announced Wrath Classic, that they did not feel like the players should feel obligated to do 4 different versions of every single raid. So while we still have to choose between heroic and normal, we no longer have to do 4 versions, we only have 2. Our original concern was with players feeling required to do the same raid multiple times per week in order to keep up, but that came from the more original experience of the Trial of the Crusader than from Naxxramas. Trial of the Crusader's original release allowed you to run 4 different versions of the same raid or the same content in a single week, all of which provided better loot than anything that had been previously available, which created enormous pressure to run all 4 versions in order to leapfrog over the Uldvar loot, making the normal and heroic versions of the Trial of the Crusader share a lockout, thus a lot to mitigate that by cutting the number of weekly runs in half. Additionally, players have pointed out in many cases that they want to be able to run the 25 player version of the raid with their guild while pugging the 10 player version. Ultimately, that positive social aspect of having raids of various sizes available each week is compelling to us and fits our goal of providing a vibrant social ecosystem for friendships to form and develop in. You might, for example, find yourself pugging 10 player raids with a few of the same people from time to time and end up inviting them to fill an empty slot on your main raid roster later. By contrast, if you could do both normal and heroic in the same week, you would be incentivized to push your existing group to run them back to back, which isn't the same sort of positive social experience. This was recently bugged on the Wrath Classic beta, and both 10 and 25 player version of Naxxramas appeared to share a lockout, but that was unintended and will be fixed before launch. Unrelated to this, we plan to make any trinket with both normal and heroic versions, such as Death's Verdict, share a unique equip category, so that you can't have both versions of the same trinket equipped at the same time. While it was originally possible to do this, it was never intended, and motivated us to create the unique equipped categories back then. Prior to creating the unique equipped categories, we could only prevent characters from wearing 2 copies of the exact same item. Yeah, so that piece of information is really important if you're looking to raid in WoW Classic, which I think a lot of people are, because let's be real here, raiding is a huge part of Classic WoW, so knowing how those lockouts work is actually great, and personally, I think this is great. You no longer have to run 4 versions of the same raid, you have 2 to choose between, and like they said in the post, I think most people will have 25 man with their guild, because that is what we're moving on from TBC, and then you can pug 10 man as well. So let's talk about the real juicy bit, race and faction change. While it won't be ready for our launch in September, we have changed our minds on this, and we are working on adding the race and faction change as a paid service in a future patch. I have a lot to say about this, but let's just read through the actual statement first, and then let's have a chat. Originally, we planned to not offer race and faction change at all, because it felt like it removed some of that fantasy feeling of having dramatically different physical attributes that affect your gameplay. We were also a little bit worried about players chasing the flavor of the month in terms of racial changing. However, we are convinced by the argument that being able to play with your friends is more important, and that you should be able to bring your accomplishments with you when you do. This turns out to be the same trade-off provided by transferring between realms, which is already available as a paid service, so it makes sense to make them do the same, or to make the same decision with respect to race and faction change. In short, this fits our aim to nurture and protect social experiences, so we'll work on it for an upcoming patch. Now, I think they said that they did not want faction changes in because of Winter Grasp, which is a core element of Wrath of the Lich King, like the huge, not really open world, but the huge battleground is kind of like an open world battleground-ish system, and they did not want the faction change in the game because of that, because it could create some really unfair scenarios. Or for example, if your faction or if your server is 70% Horde and 30% Alliance, those 30% Alliance will have a really difficult time ever winning Winter Grasp, and having a race change or a faction change available will most likely cause those Alliance players to just transfer over to Horde. Either way, they have also changed Winter Grasp, which I talked about in a previous video, so they have a blue post on that as well and how that works. So this actually makes a little bit more sense, but let's be real here, they're doing this to make money, that's pretty much it. So character-based mounts and achievements. Okay, as before, we plan to have mounts and achievements be per character rather than on the account. Good. This originally came up in response to our plan to not include race and faction change as a suggested alternative way for players to preserve their accomplishments when rerolling. Since we have been convinced to allow race and faction change in an upcoming patch, we are going to focus our efforts on that and preserve the original Lich King behavior of keeping mounts and achievements associated with the character that earned them. Okay, good. Like when I read the title right there, I was so sure they were just going to make it account bound instead of character based, so I was really worried for a second, but it looks like we're still gonna have character based mounts and achievements. Thank you. So LFG tools. We continue to iterate on the bulletin board style of the looking for group tool, and we do not have plans to add the random dungeon finder. For players, this has probably been the hottest topic of discussion since our announcement, and we welcome all of the continuing feedback on how to improve the tool and make it better. I know this will be disappointing news for some of you, but we want to settle this topic before launch so everyone knows what to expect and plan accordingly. We remain hopeful that our anti-boosting changes, especially on the fresh start realms, will invigorate the lower level dungeons around launch. We also expect the LFG tool to help facilitate long-term friendships formations for players who are looking for it. Lastly, 2v2 arena achievements and titles. We are going to award achievements and titles for the 2v2 arena bracket, just like we did in Burning Crusade Classic. Originally, Wrath of the Lich King dropped achievements and titles from the 2v2 arena bracket, but due to popular demand, we are going to preserve them in Wrath Classic. When we originally stopped awarding titles and achievements for 2v2s, it was because 2v2 was very difficult to balance. Nowadays, rather than try to make all classes equally capable in all brackets, we want to preserve the existing class balance and celebrate the unique playstyle for the classes that perform well fell in each bracket. We will always continue to listen to feedback on all of these topics. I hope this answered many lingering questions about what the state of things will be when we release. Thanks, as always, for your interest and support. Okay, wow, that was a huge blue post, a lot of important information though, so a really good update by Blizzard right here, telling us a lot more about the game before it comes out, and we're getting really close to the release, so it's about time. Either way, let me know in the comments down below what you think. The link will also be down below. There's some additional information in the post itself, where Blizzard talked a little bit more and answered some questions, so the link will be down below in the video description, so go and check it out. Let me know what you think down below in the video comments. If you enjoyed the video, please consider dropping a like. It really helps out my channel, and I honestly massively appreciate it. Either way though, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.